Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from StoryPlanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book, The Molecule of More, a creation by Daniel Z. Lieberman and Michael E. Long. In The Molecule of More, 2020, we learn how a specific brain chemical sparks our desires, boosts creativity, and triggers love. Drawing from psychology, neuroscience, and social studies, it explores this chemical's impact on our thoughts and actions, shedding light on addiction, mental health, and political conflicts. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Daniel Z. Lieberman is a professor at George Washington University, specializing in psychiatry and behavioral sciences with over 50 scientific reports. Michael E. Long is a successful author, speechwriter, and playwright who has a bachelor's degree in physics and mathematics. With 8 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book. On StoryPlanet.net. To start, explore the molecule that defines human identity. Dopamine is a crucial molecule produced by the brain that affects various aspects of human life, such as addiction, love, and behavior. It governs thoughts and behaviors, playing a role in addiction, recovery, love, and creativity. The molecule's influence is explored through insights from psychology, neuroscience, and social studies. The text emphasizes the importance of understanding dopamine's impact and its effects on human behavior. Key idea number 1, dopamine is referred to as the molecule of possibilities. Dopamine is often associated with pleasure and reward, but its role is more complex. It is released in response to novelty and surprises, motivating pursuit of goals in the distant future. This function helped in survival by driving individuals to seek resources beyond what is currently available. Key idea number 2. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a role in romantic love and its decline. Falling in love is caused by a rush of dopamine in the brain, leading to euphoria and excitement. This dopamine rush typically lasts 12 to 18 months. When the dopamine fades, couples may start to feel unsatisfied. Those with high dopamine levels seek new relationships more often. However, companionate love, based on day-to-day appreciation, follows passionate romance and is sustained by here and now brain chemicals like serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. These chemicals provide stability and satisfaction in long-term relationships. Key idea number 3. Addictive drugs have severe effects on our dopamine system. Desire is different from enjoyment, as our brain processes them through separate systems using dopamine. Addictive drugs like alcohol, cocaine, and opioids can lead to intense pleasure due to overwhelming the dopamine system, which can then cause addiction. The dopamine activity reaching unnatural highs can result in subsequent unnatural lows, prompting the brain to seek another dopamine hit, making addictive behaviors like drug use difficult to overcome. The desire circuit, closely linked to memory, can reinforce addictive behaviors by associating them with pleasure. Relapse triggers for addiction include people, places, and things. Brain counters. Dopamine demands by releasing more dopamine. Key idea number 4. Controlled dopamine regulates our cravings for dopamine. Our brain uses dopamine for many purposes. One of them is to make us crave things like foods, sex, or drugs. Luckily, it is not the only one. We have evolved a system which controls our dopamine desires and keeps them in check. You can think of it as a safety valve, and it is driven by the same substance, dopamine. It is called the dopamine control circuit. This system involves our frontal lobes, the part of the brain in which logical thinking happens. It controls planning, strategizing, and imagining the future. Even though the control and desire systems are driven by exactly the same molecule, their functions couldn't be more different. Desire dopamine makes us want things and control dopamine helps us get them. The key message here is, control dopamine helps keep our dopamine desires in check. Imagine you want to buy a car. If you had let desire dopamine take charge completely, you'd run to the next car dealership and buy the first vehicle you see. Through the power of control dopamine, you can keep such unproductive urges in check. Control dopamine makes you compare prices and features before you part with cash, and it makes you actually enjoy this process of planning for the future. Research shows that the more dopamine courses through our brain, the more effort we put into getting the things we want. Remember those rats that scientists studied? Well, researchers found that a healthy animal would press a lever that drove the food machine 1,000 times in 30 minutes. Rats who'd been given a dopamine-suppressing drug pressed that lever almost half as often. And there was something else. The machine did not simply release food with each press of the lever. No, the rats had to really work for it. And the more presses it took to earn a food pellet, the less motivated the dopamine-depleted animals became. When the number of presses per snack reached 64, the rats simply gave up. Scientists have never depleted humans of their dopamine, but they do know that, in some people, dopamine control systems are less active. Those of us who live with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, seem to fall into this category. As a result, they struggle to suppress urges and distractions, and they have a hard time staying focused. People whose dopamine control systems are very active, on the other hand, tend to be intellectual, ambitious, and overachieving. They are less emotional, and that means that they can keep a cool head in stressful situations. But there is also a flip side. The excess of controlled dopamine prevents them from fully enjoying their achievements. In the next summary, we'll learn more about the perks and perils of too much dopamine. Key idea number 5. Dopamine can be linked to creativity and psychiatric disorders. Dopamine in the brain is key for planning, strategizing, and creativity, allowing for innovative thinking. It can lead to artistic brilliance, but also contribute to psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, as excessive dopamine activity can cause hallucinations and delusions. Creatives and individuals with mental illness may share risk genes. Dopamine plays a role in creating personal significance and salience, which can lead to delusional beliefs when malfunctioning. Dreaming, also associated with dopamine, showcases its role in producing unusual connections. Key idea number 6. Dopamine levels may impact our political beliefs. A study from Virginia Commonwealth University initially found that liberals were presumed to be generous and sociable, while conservatives were viewed as impulsive and authoritarian, but later admitted to a mix-up where the data was reversed. The key point is that dopamine levels can influence political beliefs. Liberals, associated with seeking novelty and progress, have dopamine-related characteristics, while conservatives focus on practical matters and are less prone to change, driven by here and now brain chemicals. This can affect intelligence as well, with liberals showing slightly higher IQ scores in certain studies. Political opinions can be influenced by brain chemistry, and these beliefs are not fixed, as they can be manipulated through fear or abstract thinking. Key idea number 7. Dopamine played a crucial role in humans' ability to overcome challenges and thrive. Dopamine and the presence of the DRD4-7R gene variation influence risk-taking and adventurous behavior in individuals. The distribution of this gene varies globally, with indigenous South Americans having the highest prevalence. The gene variant is linked to increased dopamine activity, which aided human migration out of Africa. Populations further from Africa have higher rates of the 7R gene. The US has a high prevalence of the 7R gene and higher dopamine levels, possibly due to its history as a nation of immigrants. This genetic link may also explain higher rates of bipolar disorder in the US compared to countries like Japan. The adventurous and risk-taking nature associated with dopamine activity is reflected in American culture as well. Key idea number 8. Happiness is about balancing dopamine excitement with present-moment calmness. Dopamine is a key brain chemical that influences desires, tenacity, creativity, and political beliefs. While dopamine plays a significant role, finding a balance with other brain chemicals is crucial for happiness. Society's focus on constant dopamine-driven striving has negative consequences on both global and individual levels. Striking a balance between dopamine-driven motivation and present-oriented contentment leads to a more fulfilled and happy life. Pursuing activities that stimulate both dopamine and present-oriented chemicals can help achieve this balance, fostering both progress and peace. In conclusion, the key message discusses how dopamine influences desires, imagination, future plans, love, addiction, and creativity. It emphasizes finding balance between future-oriented dopamine and present-oriented brain chemicals for happiness. The actionable advice suggests leveraging sleep and dreaming to stimulate dopamine for problem-solving. Reading Brainwash is recommended for practical brain science insights on achieving neurochemical balance. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on storyplanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on storyplanet.net.